Alrighty then. Well, welcome to the stream, everybody. I'm Radican, and it is time for some more weapons testing. I've decided that the next combat roles ranking type video is going to be marksman rifles. Oh, hey, how you doing there, Oblivious Naga? Yeah. Yeah. I figure since we all the Helldivers 2 community recently got that new Hyena marksman rifle, it's a good time as any to just make the next combat roles video based on marksman rifles. The sentiment when I asked around about what people would prefer to see next was kind of mixed, so you know, just gotta make a decision. And it seems like a pretty good choice given the timing. So, all right. Well, let's see. Getting started here, we got our obviously the R4 Hyena. I already did some live stream field testing of this weapon to get my initial impressions and put out a video on that. And so I'll have to kind of do the same thing with these other ones just as a refresher. We've got so many weapons in the game now, it's easy to, use them a bunch, get them leveled up, and then kind of forget a little bit. Although in my case, it's more of a, in order to follow a proper methodical type of testing and all that kind of stuff, I feel that I need or should do that kind of thing. So that's the game plan. Another issue that I'm starting to consider is, as the game goes on and we get more and more equipment, it's going to start to be quite the endeavor to list all of the weapons in a given category for one video. I mean, right now I've done shotguns and assault rifles, and both of those were about 30 minutes, and that was with me trying to sort of speed along the process so that it wasn't super lengthy of a video, and I'm still like 30 minutes, and they've got 2, 4, 6, 8, 10 shotguns in the category plus another 3 in the explosive, so that was like 13 weapons. And then for assault rifles, we've got 2, 4, 6, 8, 10, 12 assault rifles plus a couple of overlaps in the energy and special category, I think. So yeah, I mean, if it's taken me 30 minutes to do like a fast overview version of it, then I'll have to come up with a different way to structure those types of videos, because I don't know how well it would play out to have it be much more than 30 minutes. I mean, I know sometimes people do that, but you know. Hey, what's up there, Den Hawken? Yeah. Decided marksman rifles will be the next one on the block for combat roles analysis. So, but fortunately, we've only got 7 marksman rifles right now, so that does make this a little bit easier. I might throw in a special mention for the BR-14 adjudicator when I produce that video, since it is kind of a hybrid and it originally launched as a marksman rifle, I believe. So let's see. So other than those, we've got we have any? Maybe I could make a special mention of the Eruptor, since it's technically a bolt action rifle. I mean, it's pretty unique. I mean, it's in the explosive category for good reason. Now, when the Adjudicator originally launched, it was classified as a marksman rifle, not an assault rifle. And like a lot of people were weirded out by it. Even its designation is unique by being a BR. And then let's see, as far as the energy-based weapons, we've got the Accelerator Rifle, which also was originally released with its own category of Sniper. And then they just sort of recategorized anything that's energy-based into this new category. And let's see, the Scorcher and the Purifier both kind of function as I definitely see why Arrowhead just decided to call these energy based, because they're so unique and they have a bit of a hybridization. It has been a while, hasn't it, Naga? Yeah. Yeah, then the Adjudicator has been reclassified as an assault rifle for quite a while, even though originally it was a marksman. Its designator is BR-14, which is probably, battle rifle. And unlike many of the assault rifles, it only has the option for full auto or single shot. Most of the assault rifles also have 3-round burst. So it is unique in that regard. And obviously it's got a ton of recoil and stuff, so it is a unique sort of hybrid option. But sometimes, I guess Arrowhead, like in anything, in anybody, you just kind of gotta make a judgment call whenever things are on the edge like that. Let's see, so... Oh yeah, and of course there's the JAR 5 Dominator, which is similar in function to a marksman rifle. And then with the variable, with its 7-shot mode or whatever it calls it, those shots are similar in function to a marksman rifle as well. So, some of this stuff, it's kind of weird in terms of categorization and trying to figure out. I mean, Arrowhead has obviously made their decision here, but for the purposes of combat roles, it still makes it a little bit weird for me. Because, for example, the Plasma and Scorcher, right, it's 200 damage. I mean, that's the same as the Diligence Counter Sniper, medium armor, but it has explosive damage. But then because it's energy-based with Plasma specifically, and it can be fired either full auto or single shot, but the projectile has a lot more drop compared to a marksman rifle. So, it's got those overlapping features, but it's not exactly the same. And then similarly to the Purifier, right? Variable is a special boy with several hats. Yes, it really is. It's quite interesting, especially, I mean, you've got your full auto assault rifle mode, you got your single shot marksman rifle mode, and then you've got that especially unique and special volley shot, which is like almost 5,000 damage of light penetration all in one shot, which is hilarious. So, yeah, I mean, the variable, that's part of the reason why I was thinking of combining certain categories like special or explosive just to break it up a little bit, because, man. And then in the future, I'll have to come up with, probably just have to do like addendums to that kind of thing, unless there's like some kind of massive overhaul to the game that fundamentally changes things, which I don't really expect that to happen. We'll see how we go. But for today, I'm going to focus on the the standard in-game classification marksman rifles, just to keep it simple. I guess it doesn't really matter which ones I start with. I think I might try and go down. I like to try and go from base game gear and then from there, but the way these are organized, I don't always do that because of the way they are alphabetized. R2, R214, yeah. That R designator followed by a number is what's throwing it all off. Although, weirdly, R2, 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 R6, and R4 are not following the same. I mean, that's out of order. And then you have R7 2 sensor, and then it goes over to R63. So I don't understand how these things are arranged exactly. It doesn't, unless it's alphabetized by, maybe it's ABC order and it's penetration order or something like that. Let's see. This is light pen R2. This is medium pen R2. These are both medium. No, that doesn't make sense either. So I have no idea how these things are sorted in here. It doesn't really make a lot of sense. Anyway, I think I'll just start with the Diligence because I think that's the first one you get from the base game War Bond. And then, of course, the Constitution is, I think that's given to everybody for free at this point, isn't it? All right. Let's see. Just flip it on over here. So if I remember correctly, this thing has got, I think this is kind of like our baseline in terms of sway and spread. That's my, yeah, then CS, then Constitution. Sorry, my dog was barking there in the background. Okay, so we got 165 damage. All standard drag factor, gravity, and all that stuff. Spread is 0.5 by 0.5. Sway is 1. And these wiki pages, the data is largely correct. There are a few instances where it may not be, but 15 stagger force, all that good stuff. So and we can compare the Diligence. Do one of these deals. Yeah. It's kind of interesting because marksman rifles just kind of fundamentally, obviously, right? They're bigger damage per shot for the most part, or at least they have much better damage fall off because they're a longer range weapon. But then we also have to keep in mind all the other stats: raw damage, armor penetration, fire rate. Ergonomics especially is a pretty strong indicator for if something is built to be used in close range, short range, mid, or long range, and stuff like that. For example, I know a lot of people have been freaking out about the Hyena, and a lot of their criticisms are that it has very low ergonomics. And it's like, okay, well, if it's got low ergonomics, then obviously you don't want to be relying on it for close range where you need to be able to change targets quickly. So that should tell you automatically that this gun is intended to be used at like at least mid-range, if not long range exclusively for best results or best performance. The Diligence has got 63, so even though it is equipped with the up to a 4x scope for longer range, like it's still snappy enough that you can use it in closer ranges, right? There were a lot of weapons that got buffed some time ago, Naga. I don't recall exactly when that was. I might be able to find it actually. It's usually included. I can check patch notes. Yeah, that was back in September 2024 is when the Diligence got buffed from 125 damage to 165 damage. So stuff like that, you know, that all matters because as the sandbox gets updated, right? But you got it, man. So yeah, though, it's like the damage fall off on a per shot basis and stuff like that. Like if we look at it compared to something like, what do we got here? Like our default Liberator, right? These weapons have got some similarities in terms of their um, projectile velocity. But you know, the spread differences are a big deal. They've got similar ergonomics, but let's see. So 900 velocity, 850. It's actually a little bit less, which is kind of weird when you think about it. But other stuff that matters in this game that people don't realize is like the mass, right? The mass of these two rounds, 4.5 grams for the assault rifles versus the 20 grams for the marksman rifle. Like they've got so many different physics details baked into the game that affect damage fall off and angles of deflection and all the different kind of stuff, right? Bullet drop. We don't see all of this information in the game, and on the one hand, I can see why that would frustrate certain people who like are super like nerdy, and you know, like me, and who appreciate all these types of details. But on the other hand, for like you know the more average casual player or something, like that would be a metric ton of information to include in the game. So if they were to do it at all, it would have to be in some kind of special dedicated kiosk, but it could make the average player feel overwhelmed, I think. And that's probably part of why they did not include all of those types of details because, you know, some of it's stuff you can just kind of figure out like, oh, this is a marksman rifle, this is an assault rifle. Obviously, the marksman rifle is going to be good at shooting farther ranges, right? At least you would think that most people would come to that initial conclusion. So, you know, even though they've got similar bullet velocities, the weights and all this other kind of stuff comes into effect, and so the damage fall off is going to be it's going to be different for each one of them, and that's even apart from their starting damage. You know, 165 versus 90. So pretty cool, but anyway, I'll get on with the show. I guess this is just to I guess help me kind of get my brain warmed up, and also just to illustrate just how complicated a lot of these um, all the mechanics involved in the game. Like it's super complicated, and it has to calculate all of this stuff at the same exact time against every single enemy that you shoot at. So, you know, um, it's impressive. It's pretty enormous. So don't try not to, I guess, get overwhelmed, but also don't jump to conclusions, because some stuff may surprise you. All right, I'll start with the diligence, and then we'll just go from there. I'm gonna start on some level 4s just so that I can kind of have a little bit more controlled pacing and stuff like that, and not have to worry about like all this extra stuff swarming me like at higher difficulties, because right now the main thing we have to do is we have to be able to confidently draw some conclusions for how these things perform. And if we jump into difficulty 10 straight out of the gate, it gets really hard to see exactly what's happening because you got too much crap going on.
FTL jump successful. Mission coordinates lost. Help pod prime.
Let's see, I'm gonna do jump pack to move around a little more. Quasar for blowing up fabs. And that should pretty much be all we need. Not too worried about anything getting crazy here. Alright. What do we got over there?
Objective located.
Cool. Oh my god, you must be kidding me. How did that make me trip? That should have been a smooth landing. Super detailed physics sometimes is not what you would expect. No! There we go. Alright. 150 meters. I think this is the maximum range scope this one can get, so that's good. Trying to see what the maximum effective distance we can get for things like one-shots on the heads, because a lot of people would like to use this for headshots, but I don't really see anything over there, so I'm just going to take out this cannon first. Most of the time, I think, sight lines, especially on maps like this, I don't actually need to do this. Gotta give time for patrols to move around anyway. But most of the time, sight lines, at least on maps like this, seem to be limited to around like 100 and 125 meters. Like, I guess if this were a difficulty 10, this opening here, we might see more stuff. Well, I might try experimenting with slightly higher difficulty, maybe difficulty 6, just to get a little bit more enemy density.
Objective complete.
But we'll get to that.
Cancel that. Dropping a pin.
Whew. Alright, so it's fairly easy. Obviously, this was, what, 50 meters? That's a good distance for picking off heads like that. I'm gonna crouch. Crouching reduces both recoil and sway. Headshot action. I see there. Hit that rock. This thing has almost no sway, especially whenever you're crouched. These enemies are light armored, or excuse me, unarmored, so it's giving me the red hit marker for full damage. You see nothing. Let's see how many shots it takes to break the rocket pods. 5 shots, it looked like. Actually. Nine shots to break the leg.
Freedom never sleeps!
Ever since they gave him those accuracy buffs, man, these things be beaming me from from pretty far with relative ease. Especially those base turret sentry gunner guys. Be getting beamed to death in like a second from 100 meters away.
Tagging map. Objective located. Automaton outpost scrapped.
Don't really see anything over there. I might have to bump this up. It's not quite as many enemies as I would like. But just having it at the 150 zoom, you can kind of see, like, if you're trying to do precise shooting against something like a bot head, like, that's probably going to be about as far as you're going to want to aim with this 4X scope, just because the things are pretty small. And I play on PlayStation 5 Pro, and I use, like, default FOV because I don't like giving up the size of visible objects in exchange for more viewing on my on the sides of my perspective. And even for me, like, once you get, you know, it gets kind of tough to see stuff that far away. So if you're on a higher FOV, it would be even worse for being able to see small details. This is a Hulk, okay.
Found something.
I think I hear a patrol.
Never mind.
Yeah, 9 shots to the leg for sure to break that. What about you? 3, 4, 5, no, 6. 7 shots to the leg of a Devastator, okay. So 9 shots to break the leg off of one of those Strider units, 7 shots to destroy the leg off of a Devastator. Diligence always felt it was the most forgiving at close range. Yeah, for sure. I mean, I think its default configuration is like 63 or 65 ergonomics. And you've still got 20 shots in the magazine, so I mean, you can see this in its default configuration. It's pretty snappy. You know, anything 50 or above is fairly suitable for closer range, like short range, I think. I doing? I gotta remember I'm testing. I'm not like playing like normal.
Dropping a pin.
Alright, see how big of a sightline I can get from these guys. "89 meters. Can I still see him? That's almost 100. I'm gonna call that good enough. That's right. So yeah, 100 meters out, you can still one-shot bot troopers to the torso, which is good. If I can land this shot. I do have a bit more sway when I'm standing still, or standing up. There we go. One shot to the head. Gosh, there we go. 2 shots to kill the head of a Devastator at 100 meters. That sway was killing me. So that's important to know, right? So for something like the Diligence, even though it has a lot of damage per shot, at 100 meters, you're no longer able to kill a Devastator to the head in 1 shot. So I wonder what the exact threshold is. Probably, I don't know, I bet you could still one-shot him at 75 meters, which, oh hey, look at that.
Never mind.
Yay, how good timing. 75 meters is not quite what I would consider sniping distance, but it's pretty close. There we go. Traders for super. Oh my gosh, Dan. He's got this vengeance kick going on. That's so funny. That's not a bad idea though, honestly. To find like exact breakpoints, because we know how much HP and like damage resistance a Helldiver can have, so that is actually probably not too bad of a way to do some testing. I'll think about that actually. Okay, so 75 meters, the Diligence can still reliably one-shot a Devastator in the head, so that's good to know. Let me put some of these notes down so that I don't forget. Okay. All right, so just as a quick log, so I don't forget my notes, the Diligence Marksman Rifle is able to one-shot Devastators to the head at 75 meters, but at 100 meters it requires 2 shots. So that's a good break point. Let's see, it also takes 9 shots to destroy the leg of a Strider unit. It takes 7 shots to destroy the leg of a Devastator unit. That was inside 50 meters, though. Actually, that was inside, I think. I don't remember exactly what it was. It was like 38 meters, maybe. So, alright, there's a quick log for that. And the sway was really difficult to counter when standing for that 100-meter range shot. Okay. Well, there's another guy there. Wow. Guess I could do a quick gander at how many shots it takes to shoot him through the torso and the back.
Never mind.
If I could. Nah. Oh, God. But that's a good way to illustrate the value of something like the hyena, right? This thing was facing away from me, and the only way to get it to turn around is to start shooting at it. But when I do that with something like the Diligence, it's kind of a waste, because then I would be shifting to its head. But if something like the hyena, I just aim for body parts anyway, and I don't care about headshots. So then 3 shots is probably enough damage to let the fire damage finish the job. And so I don't really view the hyena as a precision marksman rifle. I view it as a center mass brute force, marksman rifle, if you will. I don't think I need to kill these guys. I don't have any real good reason to test against them anymore. Not at this distance. Let's see.
Found something.
Dang it. I'm gonna have to use a stun grenade, but not that it really matters, because they're always gonna turn around before you can finish the job, I think. all these breakpoints, man. Whenever you meet real gameplay environmental stuff like this big dummy who was stomping around, closing the gap on his stomach, moving around, making it hard for me to land exactly where you want to shoot. Like, headshots are not the end-all be-all in this game, in my opinion, because of things like that cause you to miss. Playing peekaboo in a tank with... Except for the gorilla armor. Oh, how about that? Okay. But the fire takes them? Yeah, that makes sense. That's pretty funny, dude. Few shots to destroy those rocket pods with the Diligence is really nice, because you can kind of ignore these guys once you've destroyed their rocket pods. You can run away and all this kind of stuff. You don't have to worry about them blasting you anymore, which is a pretty big deal. Now let's think here for a second. Good old gorilla armor. Oh yeah, let me make another note here while I'm thinking about it. Okay, another follow-up note to the Diligence is that for enemy devastators that have backpacks or rocket pods, it takes 2 shots to destroy the rocket pods on average. If you're in range, let's say inside 50 meters, maybe more. And then shooting rocket pod devastators or heavy devastators in the backpack can be effective because it is vulnerable to Diligence light penetration, but they usually turn around so fast you cannot finish destroying the backpack, at least so far in my experience. Okay. Oh look, I have a whole party here with me. So that was like, what, 12 meters away? Pretty easy headshot from third-person view. That's nice. Nah, those are just striders. I don't care about that right now.
How about a nice cup of liver tea?
You can burst fire those legs down pretty quick in a pinch. That's nice. Alright. Okay. Alright, so let's think here. The only time that sway really seemed like it was a problem. Well, let me line up another shot, but it seems to me the only time sway is a real issue is at 100 meters. You're standing. What was that? Did that just hit a wall or something? Did you guys see that? Why didn't that blow up? That was weird.
Mission at 20 minutes remaining.
Yeah, closer ranges, sway isn't a problem. That's about 25 meters. At least standing. 42 meters. The sway is still pretty minimal with 150 meter zoom setting. It's pretty easy to see the head. And line that up without much issue. It's only, I guess, well, let's say 75 meters and beyond where sway and the size of the target you're trying to shoot begins to become a problem with the 150 meter optic. Alright. You can really brute force pretty effectively with this gun, and it's not that bad because you have plenty of ammo. Okay. Everybody's dead. Oh no. Well, he just almost got me. The diligence is fairly suitable for, you know, long range. Let's say 50 meters plus. But for very long range, I'm going to call it very long range of, I don't know, 75 meters plus, maybe 100 meters plus. I'm going to have to play around with some of those more niche range classifications. Because obviously, at 100 meters, I can no longer one-shot a Devastator to the head with the Diligence, even if I'm able to see it enough. So that's a pretty meaningful distinction. So maybe, yeah, I don't know. I'll have to think about it.
Outpost destroyed.
Meters over there, getting a little tougher. 69 meters, nice. That was still a one shot, and that's like 110 meters. Can't see him well enough though. Why is my dude not letting me sprint? That's like a real issue with like basic navigation controls, climbing, crouching, and sprinting that just doesn't work on these weird terrain. And that is something that Arrowhead needs to fix, because that's pretty frustrating. Ah, chainsaw hands, okay. Really awkward terrain to get good, clean shots on that. I'll have to find a map that's a little bit more flat for those for the Berserkers, that's their name. What's up there, Dark Blaze? How's it going, man? Okay. Let's see if there's a distance at which I cannot one-shot these things to the chest. I don't expect that to be the case, but you never know. "90 meters. Yeah. It would have to be in excess of 100 meters, because 100 meters is where the Devastator head is no longer one-tappable with the Diligence. Yeah, that's absolutely right, Naga. Which is one of the things that's interesting in fighting them, is like they've got the stomach, which is unarmored as a weak point, but because of the way they kind of lean forward and lumber back and forth when they're coming at you, it's hard to hit consistently. Same thing with their head. If they're moving it toward you anyway.
Objective located.
Let's see. I can hear something, but I don't see him, so might just not be able to do that one. Let's see if I can find a better vantage point from... How far away are these guys? 99. Oh, that's good. Let me see if I can get... Well... 103... 114. I'll try 114. I think... Is he looking towards me? No. Alright, 114. You can still body shot a trooper, so that's good to know. Alright, so basically it's... I mean, that's pretty freaking far, so... I'm probably not going to worry about finding the damage fall-off point at which the Diligence can no longer body shot a trooper, just because it can be kind of hard, I think, to find a sightline where that's going to be super valuable. We'll see. He lived. All right. How long does it take to field test each weapon? Well, that's a good question. I mean, depending on exactly how detailed we're going, I mean, I can easily spend a day doing each weapon, you know, if I'm being like super detailed about it, like an 8-hour day. Whenever I was working on the shotguns video, I was spending about 6 hours per shotgun, and then I kind of came to the conclusion or the realization, I was like, this is too much detail, I think, for most people. And while it was fun to do, I think that level of detail is probably better for like an individual, like deep dive breakdown of a weapon. And also, like, it's taking 6 hours per weapon, and that was before I attempted to do like recording anything or editing anything. So You know, I'm I'm slowly, with more time and practice, I think I'm improving my process to be faster. Yeah, yeah, thanks, man. Yeah, I mean, I find it enjoyable. Like, I have a background in um, military intelligence and like exercise science with research methods and all this kind of stuff, and writing research papers. So I rather enjoy that kind of work, but I have to balance that with, like, you know, being able to put out um, good quality content in a timely manner. You know what I'm saying? And some days I just, you know, like, well, I don't want to get into too much detail, but I have certain health conditions with my back in particular that can sometimes just mess me up and make things take longer because I'm just, I just don't feel good. But yeah, I mean, it's fun. I like this kind of stuff though. Uh, but because I've gotten into it, like, I really see and have learned a lot of the complexity behind the game that I think a lot of players or even content creators don't necessarily, either they don't realize it or they don't, like, fully, I guess, appreciate its value and the nuance that it offers. Which, it's fine. Everybody's got their own priorities, but when it comes to giving a good, high quality, like, weapon review, I think there's value in sort of like vibes from gameplay and like a surface level understanding of stats and stuff like that. But if you really, really want to get into it and stuff like that, and appreciate everything the game offers, like, you really need to spend some time checking into those detailed stats and checking those breakpoints in the game and all that kind of stuff. Yeah, exactly, Naga. Preferences tend to obscure the value. That's exactly right. I mean, the main complaints that I've seen, or how would I like, in the reviews that I've seen, and I'm like other people. I'll browse Reddit, I'll browse YouTube, and all this kind of stuff. And um, at this point, I've started creating a hypothesis. What do I think the most common complaints of this new weapon is going to be, based on community behavior over time? And it was without fail going to be, oh, they're going to think the ergonomics are bad and it's trash, and they're going to just, it's like, if it's got low ergonomics, it's obviously not designed to be a close range weapon. But you see people talking about how it's not good to use in short range, and then you'll see YouTube content creators and streamers and stuff complaining about it in the same way. And it's like, brother, it's a marksman rifle, and you're using it inside 25 meters. What is wrong with you? Like, you know what I'm saying? Like, it's so weird. Oh, well, thank you, Dark Blaze. I appreciate that. That means a lot. Um, so anyway, but yeah, and then we add in stuff like armor penetration and damage fall off, because the bullet weight is a hidden stat, and that affects it as much as, like, velocity and all this other kind of stuff, which is just awesome. Like, the fact that they've integrated so many elements of physics into this game to create the detail and complexity and all this kind of stuff is phenomenal to me. Like, it makes the amount of build crafting, especially, like, if you want to really, really lean into teamwork, like, it is phenomenal. Like, there is so much build crafting and teamwork crafting that you can do. It's just that the game doesn't force you to do it. And so people often, it seems to me, make the mistake of concluding, like, oh, well, it's not really that much of a teamwork game or whatever, right? It's like, the fact that you can be kind of an individual powerhouse, and yet you can also have a lot of depth depth, if you choose to, is amazing. Like, that's such an amazing way to build the game that it can accommodate both. And it's like, you're not going to see the depth in quick play, but if you want to work with friends or whatever and communicate and stuff, like, oh yeah, absolutely. You've seen the Blitzer been called the best, and now it's the the worst because bushes exist. Yeah, yeah, yeah. The meta BS of constant slop creators, where if the SMG can't snipe over 30 meters, it's no good, and Arrowhead does take their job seriously with each gun, but the vast majority want it all in one gun. Yeah, that's exactly it. I mean, it's one of the most common biases, like, in human existence. I mean, we have a lot of biases, right? I mean, I'm not immune from them either. I'm just probably more aware of them than average, just because of my training and education. But it's like, negativity bias is a big one, and we see that with how, like, clickbaity and angry reviews and Arrowhead's lying and all this kind of stuff, right? Like, that's something that we as people we just latch onto that stuff by default, and it's easy to see things through that way for a lot of creators, especially when they undervalue a lot of these, like, more obscure details and nuances that, to be fair, can be more difficult to appreciate and learn about. And then obviously, like, your own personal preferences and play style and stuff, that heavily biases how you judge things. If you're not careful to think, okay, well, I know that I like to play, between 25 and 50 meters or inside of 25 meters or whatever. I like my weapons to shoot fast and rapidly and pack a punch and blah, 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 blah. And, if it doesn't fit that category, you think, well, this thing sucks. But your mistake is that you're judging it through the lens of your preference and not through the lens of what does this weapon offer you, for gameplay. Oh, really? A lot of the negativity tubers are losing views, huh? That's interesting. Hey, I don't actually know. I mean, I see, like, I watch some of them a little bit, just to kind of stay aware of the, I guess, what you might call the state of the negativity drama. But I have to be careful because it can get under my skin a little bit, like, I'm human too, and especially on days where, like, if my back is hurting, like, it makes me I become a lot more cranky a lot more easily. Like, yesterday I wanted to do some live streaming, but my back and neck was just killing me, so I was like, I need to just chill out a little bit. But yeah, man, that's interesting. I mean, negativity farming and stuff like that, like, it works in the short term for sure, but if that's all you have, once the negativity goes away or people start to realize, hey, maybe not, then it might not be as durable over time. And yeah, it's a shame. There's a place for criticism and stuff, but a lot of these guys, they tend to, in my observation, many of them tend to degenerate into name calling and making accusations of, deceit and lying and all this stuff. And it's like, man, Cry Diver's back in 24, so you just make fun of them. Becomes kind of stale for them later. Yeah, and it's like, if it's really that bad, then, like, move on. Because if it is that, like, that's the problem, is, like, in the beginning of the game, if you feel that is the case, then Arrowhead is all these bad things, call it out, sure, give some feedback. But after 6 months or a year, and certainly now that the game's been out for more than a couple of years, like, if you still feel that it's that bad, then obviously it's not going to change. So why do you want to sit there and keep subjecting yourself to that kind of negative cycle? If that's the case, I don't believe that's true. Obviously, I think that these guys are mostly full of shit. But even if they genuinely believe it, like they're just stuck in their own mindset. And it's like some of these guys, I'm like, you've obviously never built a complicated thing or worked on a really complex project, because if you had, you'd realize that a lot of the stuff that, like the problems and glitches, and whether it's a balance issue or a technical issue or glitches and stuff in this game, it's like this game is insanely complicated. Like the amount of physics and stuff like that, armor penetration and all this kind of stuff that they've got going on. This is more complicated than the vast majority of shooter type games in the market. And most games certainly don't have individual body parts, all with their own individual deflection angles, armor value, like durability versus standard versus fire resistance, and all that kind of crap, right? Like that is so much stuff going on in the background constantly that, to me, a lot of these technical issues, they are frustrating, but like I also I just kind of appreciate the amount of complexity in the game, and so I don't mind it as much. Like stuff that lasts for a very long time, it does get frustrating in the moment. I mean, I get heated in the moment just like anybody else. But after I take a breath, I'm like, all right, well, I know this exists. I know it might happen. I have to work around it. Like it doesn't make it okay that it exists, but I still understand it. It's not like Arrowhead is out here deliberately trying to like ruin my day. Like that doesn't even make sense. Why would Arrowhead want to give players a bad time? That's completely the counter to their entire business. Like they want us players to have a good time because they want us to keep playing and buying their products. So it's like this weird stuff. Den says you hate watching. Oh, hate watching is a thing. They even say they don't play. Still watch. Never underestimate spite. Yeah. Sony, it's a Sony game, therefore it's a universal hate thing, mostly among the PC master race. That's interesting, yeah. That's true, though. People can be spiteful and stuff. And then Jason, how you doing there, Jason? Plus, the system works efficiently and has a lot of entities. I'm not. You mean the? Are you referring to the game engine system? Or are you specifically? I mean, yeah. And that's the other thing, is that for me as a PlayStation 5 Pro player, like for the most part, the game has been pretty good for quite a while. I mean, it's definitely had some hitches and ups and downs over time, but right now the main problem that the game experiences for me is since the ballistic system, HP, yeah, man, it's phenomenal. I love it. Yeah, and to me it makes it more understandable when things get broken. Uh-oh, my OBS disconnected. Looks like my OBS may have been on the fritz there for a moment. Am I back? Is this thing still on? Okay. I got a notice there that my stuff was freaking out on me for a minute. All right, thank you. I lost my train of thought. But... okay, good. At any rate, the game is so complex, and a lot of these negativity things. Oh yeah, and there are some instances. Like I saw a dude. Who was it? He was criticizing the game, and saying a bunch of negative stuff. But then whenever I looked into the description of his video, the gameplay footage was credited to somebody else. So I was like, wait a minute. So you play the game so little, you don't even have your own gameplay footage. You had to get it from somebody else. And all of his freaking arguments were basically him scouring the front page of angry subreddit forums and then acting as if that's like, oh, people everywhere are freaking out. And so the problem with stuff like that is that, number one, it's disingenuous and it strikes me as dishonest. Like, the gameplay footage, maybe sometimes you could get a pass for that if you're like traveling or something, right? But yeah, man, it's just, and then some stuff is just, they're just not thinking things through very clearly, in my opinion. It's so disappointing to me, mainly because these types of channels can have tens of thousands or hundreds of thousands of viewers, and then everybody gets this negativity bias like really drilled into their brain, and then they start to feel bad about the game, like, well, maybe I don't want to watch it, or maybe I don't want to play it, or whatever. And their friends stop playing it because they think that it's trash or Arrowhead's evil or whatever. And it's like, these negativity farmers, like, I have a real bone to pick with them because they're wrong most of the time. Sometimes they're full of shit, and it's wildly irresponsible on an ethical level, and it directly has downstream consequences to players like me. Like, I want the best for this game, and if you're just talking all this nonsense, then you're putting out bad information, and that influences people and like the number of people that are going to be playing, and blah 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 blah. So yeah, well, I'm glad to hear that, Dan. Appreciate that. Let's see. Well, that was a big old long tangent rant, huh? I'm glad we are all on the same page, though. All right, so let me double check my notes that I made here for this diligence. All right, so we noted that, yeah. We can one-shot with the diligence. We can one-shot a Devastator head out to 75 meters for sure, but at 100 meters, it requires 2 shots. So somewhere between 75 meters and 100 meters, the diligence is no longer able to one-shot a Devastator head. And I think that might be a fair distance to say, okay, well, now the diligence is no longer like optimal, right? If you can no longer one-tap a Devastator head with the diligence. Standing with the diligence in its default configuration makes the sway a lot more difficult past that 75 meter mark. 50 meters was still pretty comfortable though. You can break a Strider leg in 9 shots. You can destroy a Devastator leg in about 7 shots. 2 shots destroy a Rocket Devastator by shooting it directly in the rocket pods, which is very useful because then you can kind of ignore them. Shooting the backpack of things like Rocket Devastators or Heavy Devastators is doable, but they turn around so fast, it's very difficult, in my opinion, and probably not worth it to try and destroy their backpack with the diligence. Obviously, that's not going to be an ideal target anyway, but you do not always have ideal conditions in this game, so we should not limit our judgment of a weapon to ideal conditions, right? Den says Sony PS6 comes with drive options. Another fact, Sony isn't ending the disc; they're ending mass production, and it will be. Okay, yeah, choice on the disc, yeah. Dev choice on the discs. Interesting. Okay, yeah, I had heard something about that, and I wasn't sure how that story had progressed. That's interesting. My current PS5 Pro, I have the disc drive because I like it as a Blu-ray player, but I'm not super concerned about physical media versus digital media. I mean, Steam already is all digital and has been for a long time, and as long as the company has good policies and, values and morals, like it really doesn't matter. And then secondary to that, like what we need is just consumer protection laws. Like it really doesn't matter if we have physical media or digital media. What matters is we have good consumer protection laws and policies in place because, uh, you know, ultimately businesses have the incentive to do things that are going to make their customers want to stay with them. And so we have to obviously give them feedback, but we also sometimes need to get things put into law to protect us so that, you know, unethical or otherwise kind of shady practices are not allowed to continue. And that can vary by nation, of course, but Jason says he didn't witness the 100-meter Devastator head. Does that feel safely confirmed? I just feel like if a trooper body shot is possible, the Devastator headshot would be also possible. Well, I feel pretty confident about it. I would say, as far as the trooper body shot, though, actually, let me double check the armor values between those two because that might be part of the difference, and also there might be a durability difference. I could run it a couple more times just to be sure. The troopers, I want to say the troopers that I shot were the very basic troopers, and those do have slightly less HP than a Devastator head. A Devastator head is 110 unarmored HP, and a bot torso is only 100. So it's probably right there on the very edge. Doesn't look like there's any durability differences, though. So 100 meters might actually be the threshold, like right at the doorstep for being able to one-tap the troopers as well. Although I think I killed one at like 112 meters, so... I mean, the difference between 100 damage and 110 damage, that's getting right there on the cusp, so I feel pretty confident in that conclusion. If nothing else, it's probably one of those give or take like 5 meters, right? Then got 300 movies for Blu-ray. Hell yeah, dude. Games should belong to those who purchased them. Yeah. No, I agree. I agree that the games should belong. It's such a weird landscape for like the economics of it all, stuff like that. Like, I think that might be reasonable to make a distinction between like live service games and traditional single player games, and of course, then you kind of have to ask about and consider like meaningful updates and patches and stuff like that. But at the end of the day, yeah, I mean, games today are significantly more complex and larger in file size compared to what they used to be on like, even if we go back to like PlayStation 4, PlayStation 3. But I don't know. I'm definitely in favor of consumer protections though, so that we can't get lose access to something that we paid for. The whole like licensing technicality is, I think, understandable in limited contexts. Yeah, so about 100 meters. Anyway, getting back to that. I don't want to keep falling off the train here. So at 100 meters, we can assume approximately that the diligence counter sniper will have lost at least 66 damage. No. There's the headshot would be 110 damage, so it has lost. Oh, God. Math going backwards. That'd be right at, what, 50, 45? Oh my God, I can't. I'm gonna have to stop and get some food here soon. I'm starting to get hungry. I am hungry. Let's see. 110, that'd be. Yeah. That'd be what? 50. 55 damage lost, I guess. Yeah. Okay. I wonder what the math would work out to for something like the Liberator. Obviously, you'd have to use more shots to begin with, but I wonder if we could figure out the damage fall off and how it scales since it has a different bullet weight and velocity and all that kind of stuff, you know? That'd be pretty cool. But for another day. All right, so next I need to look at, I guess, we didn't really take a look too much at the not Devastators, Berserkers. So I could go back in and do some pot shots on them versus the chest and things like that, because we already know headshots, right? But all right, yeah, I think I'll work on that next. But I'll be right back. I'm gonna grab myself a little food, so I'll be back in like 5 or 10 minutes. Alrighty. Got myself a little snack. I'm ready to get back in the old field testing game. Okay. So I wanted to do some pot shots at berserkers before we move on, and then I might do this one by
The bots terrorize this planet. This operation.
Coordinates lost. Hellpod Prime.
like I'm debating
Engaging orbital thrusters.
if I want to assess each weapon by faction first, and then, or just do each weapon
Orbit synchronized.
across each faction, and then move on to the next weapon, you know?
Launch initiative.
Go now, and fear the shadow of neither death nor tyranny, for justice is your cause. Tagging map.
Alright, let's hope we got some berserkers. Maybe stick to a faction and compare the use cases? Yeah. There's certainly easier to keep in mind the comparisons when I do it that way, so I think that that's a dev. And yesterday I was running around, all I could find were berserkers. Yeah, especially when each faction plays differently. Yeah. Yeah, I agree. I think it might just be easier for me to... That was something else kind of like, in general, as I considered doing the combat role review on a per faction basis. I guess that could be one way that I handle the fact that we keep getting more and more over time. Oh, it's a tough choice.
Helldiver, you are moving outside the mission area.
No rockets for you. No arm cannon for you either. Okay. Just had to play a little boxing match with them there for a second. Yeah, this looks like it's all Devastators on this map, so I might have to relaunch it.
Innocents perish with every wasted second. We must act.
Coordinates locked. Hellpod prime. Engaging orbital thrusters. Orbit synchronized.
Try this again, shall we?
Make the automatons pay for their wanton aggression.
Sending down support weapon. Sending down equipment package. Dropping a pin.
All right. That's a trooper.
Warning, you are in range of enemy artillery.
Those are only troopers, it looks like. More troopers. We got a Strider. Okay, well. That's unfortunate.
Warning, you are in range of enemy artillery.
Devastators. Go away. I hate it whenever it gets stuck and it just won't make the ping disappear.
Never mind.
Yeah, those are all troopers. This is just not a good one for that kind of thing, I guess. All right. Well, let me do some math real quick here. Some rough math estimates. All right, so it was like 3 shots to the stomach, I think, to kill. Yeah, it was 3 shots to the stomach to kill the Devastator. You were just on Marfark and the other MO planet, and it had berserkers everywhere. Yeah, yeah. The enemy seed can be random, I guess. Probably favors one or the other, depending on the planet and the modifiers or whatever. All right, so if it takes 3 shots to kill the stomach of a Devastator, then it should be the same for the stomach of a Berserker, because those are identical. And then for the chest, 40% durable. And then, let's see. Okay, so 165. So 40% durable. So at 18, and then 60% of the standard. That's 18, right? So 117 per shot before any damage fall off. And then light armor penetration matches it, so that value times 0.65 for the matching penalty would come down to 76 damage per shot to the chest of a berserker. 425 divided by 76 gives us 5.5 shots. So at least 6 shots to kill a berserker to the chest. More if you have enough damage fall off over a distance. I'm good with that. I expect that it's going to be fairly consistent across up to 50 meters, probably. If you lose 55 damage across 100 meters, if that's fairly linear because it's a percentage at 30%, let's say, because that's what the usual drag is, then at 50 meters you might be losing, let's round up and say you lose 30 damage. Then, well, actually, that changes the calculus a little bit, but it's still going to be within 2 more shots, so something like that, 2 or 3 shots, if you're really out at those far ranges. So 3 shots to the torso, assume 6 shots to the chest of a light armor target berserker. And then the pelvis, it would be about the same because even though it's also unarmored, it's got almost double the HP, so that's kind of a wash. But the great thing about the diligence in situations like that is, let's say inside 25 meters, if you're using the diligence and berserker enemies are coming, you're not going to be able to hit them in the stomach because they lean forward and it obscures their stomach. You might be able to hit them in the head, but they move around and jostle a lot, and when things are chaotic, that can be difficult. So you know for sure you can reliably shoot them in the chest. 6 shots to the chest is going to kill a berserker inside 25 meters. And the diligence has a fire rate of 350, so basically as fast as you can pull the trigger is pretty darn quick. And with a magazine and size of 25, you can kill, let's see, 4 berserkers, assuming you don't miss anything. Okay. So you can put down a small group of berserkers relatively quickly, but you rely completely on damage output to do it. So that's good to know. Okay. Are there any other notable enemies Obviously, reinforced scout striders, we can shoot those in the rockets, and that'll usually kill them immediately. Or shoot them in the leg like, what was it, 9 times? Can't do anything against the bigger, tanky enemies. I guess you can shoot hulks in the back vent, but 900 HP unarmored and 60% durable. It's going to be a lot of shots because that durable damage is really hurting your output. That means you're probably only doing like 60 or 65 damage per shot to the heat sink. Which would be you're probably going to have to do at least, I don't know, 15 shots to the heat sink to kill a Hulk if you're inside optimal range. You may as well probably just plan on a full mag dump. Sub-faction, yeah. Yeah, most of the sub-factions on the automatons are pretty similar. The biggest thing with like the Jet Brigade is they're hyper vulnerable to explosive weapons because they're jetpacks. And then most the incineration core is mainly just how they can attack you. Cyborgs have some meaningful differences. You gotta shoot through the radical. Is this the rat? No, this is the agitator. You gotta shoot through his light armor first. Why is this? Oh, there we go. So his helmet is also light armor, so you can 2-tap the helmet to break off his helmet. And then you can shoot him in the head for a 1-tap. He's got 150 HP unarmored to the head. So as long as you're inside of probably 25 meters, you probably tap him one shot to the exposed head. Let's see, 165, and we were doing only about, what do we say, like probably 105 damage at 100 meters. So it might be more like 130, 135 damage at 50 meters. Which means, yeah, to get the 1 shot to the head, you probably have to be somewhere between closer to 25 meters to make sure that you get the 1 shot to their head before damage fall off affects it too much. Chewing through their torso armor only takes a couple of shots, but then they've got a massive amount of torso HP, which you could mag dump as well. Shooting them in their legs, those have a lot of HP as well. And because they like to move around, that could be tricky to hit. It's kind of interesting. I mean, for sure the best case scenario against the agitator would be shoot their helmet off in like 2 shots and then shoot their head off in 1 or 2 shots with the diligence. And it's very snappy, and it fires quickly with relatively low recoil, so that would be a good option for doing that if you're a real crack shot and you can stay focused. That would be the play right there. For the radicals are significantly easier because they don't even have a helmet, although they sprint at you a lot more, so that part could be challenging. Their torso a little bit weird. Do they have torso circuits? Which is basically just their torso. But if you kill it all, then they die. They've got 1200 HP. So yeah, I mean, definitely doable, but you're much better off just aiming for the head. Yeah, seems like it would be. What's their stagger threshold? I don't actually know. I don't think it says here. What about our agitators? Different enemies have a different stagger threshold. I don't remember from experience if it was like 20, 25, or 30 or what. I think it's maybe 20 or 25. Let me go see if I can find some to shoot in the face. Do some shoosting. I'm gonna put on a shield just because I want to try to avoid getting flinched for testing purposes. I might actually bring the stun options, make this easier, since these guys are very aggressive. Yeah, that's fine, but I will do stun. You were fighting the Borgs earlier with the arc thrower. That's good, man. Yeah, the arc thrower rips. It really rips. And that stun that it builds up is super nice. Mm. I don't see any Borgs over there. Look how much better the sway is whenever you go prone versus crouched and then standing. That's a big difference in the amount of sway. Isn't that crazy? What am I doing? I was thinking I had the Quasar cannon. No, I wanted him to launch it so that I could have the reinforcement drop enemies. Come on, you fool. Oh no, he doesn't have his reinforcement arm. You could just shoot the left arm off of these guys and they can't summon reinforcements. That's funny. How about that? Now that's some pro gamer move insight right there. Oh, I'm still on the wiki. My bad. Hey, it's Devastators. Of course I shot him in the head by mistake. God. I keep shooting him in the head on accident now. It figures. Oh well.
Outpost cleared.
Okay. No Borgs there. Oh, I hear him. I hear him over here.
Deploying sentry.
Look at how fast they move when they're juiced up. 1, 2. Missed. Oh, yeah. Oh, okay, yeah. That's about what I would expect, because that was right around. Of course, it's not letting me see my ping. Yeah, about 25 meters over there. 2 shots to take off the helmet. 1 shot to finish him. Den says, I've been pondering after watching a bit to re-investigate the liberation process since we added city zones and the DSS and how they made some level 1 missions purposely longer to complete. Yeah, could be worth it, man. I don't really, honestly, I don't pay that much attention to the liberation rates. Especially not lately because of, well, you know, how much time this takes, but that'd be interesting to find out. Alright, this guy's 61 meters. 1, 2. Yeah. 60 meters is still a reliable 1 tap to the head. Okay, so I was mistaken. My math did not, my napkin math did not napkin. That's actually kind of nice to know.
Automaton outpost scrapped.
Okay. He's angry.
Sending down sentry.
No Borgs. I need the Borgs. Well, I guess I'll go down this direction. Find some more cyborgs. Although, honestly, like, 60 meters and being able to consistently take their head off and stuff is pretty good, because these guys close the gap so fast anyway. Like, kind of... How many shots does it take? I don't want it. Now there's a blizzard and I can't see long range. One shot to the head. That's pretty nice. It's very satisfying, isn't it? Really gotta spam fire into those legs whenever they're not looking at you. Ah, daggone this blizzard. Yeah, might need to do some more destruction. Make it loud.
Something here.
A stratagem jammer. Yay. Rocket Raider, okay.
Found something. Enemy tactical asset within range.
Come on. Yikes.
Found something.
Oof. Oh no.
Not today.
Very spammable. Oh, here comes a Borg from somewhere. It's about what the estimates were saying with regard to the number of shots to kill those things. Seems like they die a bit faster with those body shots than I expected. That must have to do with the torso circuits versus the torso itself. Because it called the main HP is the unprotected sections. So I guess if you get lucky and you get a lot of shots into that area, then it's not too bad. Seems to be pretty easy to do, honestly. Oh, and you know what? Because it's light armor. Oh wait, no, never mind. Never mind. Oh no! No! I thought it was gonna roll me into the mine. Almost ate it there, man.
Objective critical stratagem available. Hell bomb request approved. Deploying now.
Oh no, he's gonna blow it up early. Oh, no, he's not. We're good. Well, let's see. We pretty much got, I think, everything we really needed against the radicals. I mean, they die in just a small number of shots to their torso, especially if you manage to not hit them in the circuit armored section. 1 shot to the exposed head, 2 shots to take off the head, at least out to 60 meters, which is pretty dang nice. Of course, they don't get staggered for crap, but that's okay.
Objective critical stratagem available. Sending down sentry. Deploying non-lethal payload.
I guess the best thing to do would be to check for sure the range limitation on being able to shoot them in the head and take their head out in 1 shot. But if they have 150 unarmored HP and the Devastators have 110, and you're not able to kill the Devastator at 100, that means you're not going to be able to one-tap the Cyborg exposed head at less than 100. Somewhere at less than 100, but over 60. So it might just be right around like that 70, 75. I mean, I'm right here. I might as well get this little escape pod beacon deal, huh? Alright, so the real challenge then would be to find a big open area with cyborgs that I can get between that 60 and 100 meter distance.
Objective critical stratagem no longer available.
How in the world did he see me over here? That's weird. Hopefully I'll encounter some cyborgs on the way over to this little bitty baby base. I was kind of hoping that might be close enough to take out that tower cannon. those are not what I need. Huh. Oh, that might work. Let's try 90 meters. That's probably a good testing spot.
Never mind.
If I can get him to look at me, though. One. No, stop moving. Dang it. Okay, that was 60 meters again. Okay, that's pretty hard to land those shots. So...
Sending down sentry. Deploying non-lethal payload.
I don't know if I can get in range into the where I need to be now. Where'd he go? Alright. Almost.
Never mind.
97 meters. I'm not sure if I had already hit him. And also, I'm pretty sure he got direct hit by the mortar projectile, which does some amount of damage. Oh, my test was ruined. Okay, let's try this again. Would you look at that? Another batch of Borgs. Because those things deal damage. You see how it exploded some of them. Even though it's EMS, it's not a lot of damage, but it's enough. It's a direct hit. This is turning into a real pain in the butt.
Mission at 20 minutes remaining.
He just won't stop.
Cancel that.
Oh, it took more than 2 shots at 77 meters to break his helmet off. I think. Although that might have been me hitting him in the chest by mistake, I'm not sure.
Firing non-lethal payload.
One. Okay, 77 meters.
Never mind.
Still one tapping, I think. Ah! He got oh, what? It didn't stun him properly. He got stopped, but not permanently the way it was supposed to. Alright, well this is shaping up to be really difficult to do, so... Whatever. Somewhere between 60 and 100 meters, you, I guess, are not able to one-tap them or something. I don't know. It's so hard to land the shots, at least for me. I don't know if it's even practical to worry about it. I'm gonna have to think about how I can set that up better, because the there's a couple of problems to overcome here. Number one, finding an area with a long enough sight line to be able to properly conduct this test is turning out to be difficult. And then we have the issue of these guys like to start moving a lot as soon as they are alerted to your presence. And the problem with trying to use stuns on them properly is that even the EMS mortar, number one, it only has a maximum range of, I think, 80 meters if it has direct line of sight. I forget. I know if it does not have direct line of sight, it'll only target out to like 50 meters. My buddy Space Cadet Krieg tested this some time back. And then, so it might not have enough of a sightline range. And then beyond that, I can't throw things manually. I can't use stun grenades because they would detonate in the air even if I use something like... Even if I used stun grenades and I threw it using like the Steeled Veterans like prosthetic arm perk, that would only be something like 65 meter throwing distance or something like that. And then the stun grenade has such a short fuse it would detonate before it hit the ground anyway. Hey, how's it going there, Ultima? Sorry there, but today I'm doing some breakpoint testing and stuff and comparing marksman rifles and all this kind of business, so not a great time to team up. Another time whenever I'm doing regular gameplay, that would be perfectly fine. So, well, we know for sure somewhere between 70 meters and 100 meters, it should be losing the ability to one-tap those guys to the head, but I'm having a hard time finding that threshold because I can't stun them from that far away. At least not by myself. Could potentially get somebody using the pacifier to stun them in place. But even then, it's kind of like, with as erratic as these guys like to move at those distances, it's pretty hard to land those headshots, but you can do it while they're coming in a little bit closer, or just burst them down in the chest and stuff. So I'll just make a note of that for now, and I'll come back to it later, because this is, practically speaking, I think we mostly got what we need for the most common circumstances. Yeah. Let me just make a note of that real quick. Okay. So for the Diligence Marksman Rifle versus the Cyborg enemies, the Radicals and the Agitator units, you can reliably one-shot them in their exposed head up to at least 70 meters, but it's probably going to fall off before 100 meters. And then it takes on average 2 shots to remove the helmet of the Agitator, and then the 1 shot for the kill on the exposed head. Torso shots are very effective, especially if you spam fire and you get lucky and you miss the armored sections, which seems to be pretty easy to do. Otherwise, just takes more shots. But for sure, between that like 25 and 50 meter range, it's relatively easy to secure the headshot kill against those enemies with the diligence. Because it's very snappy, so you can follow them effectively. Ultima, how you doing today? You say you're level 10, huh? How long you had the game? Let's see. Three shots required to kill Devastators or Berserkers. To the stomach, but it can be difficult. Berserkers, due to their leaning posture during pursuit. Okay. Just finishing up my notes there on the dilly. Pretty interesting, really. Okay. Thanks, Naga. Have a good one, man. Appreciate you hanging out. This is pretty interesting. I'm gonna have to really spend some time thinking about range, like best effective ranges and practical ranges for things like this. I think the diligence is most practically going to be between 25 and 50 meters while being able to stretch out to that 75 meter, 100 meter range if necessary, but we'll see how it all shakes down. Okay, so interestingly, the amendment, I wonder. Well, we'll get to that in a moment. I'm real interested to see the practical differences between the diligence and the diligence counter sniper now that I'm kind of paying more attention to these types of details. Because this means that, actually, let me move back over here. So, for example, bring these two up and compare. Like now, we already know the practical damage fall off, or like the absolute damage fall off point for something like the regular diligence is 100 meters because you can no longer two-tap devastator heads, or excuse me, you can no longer one-tap devastator heads at 100 meters. So, with the sense that the regular diligence is more of a designated marksman rifle, and if this way this is shaping up initially to me makes me think that the counter sniper is gonna legit act more like a sniper style weapon, right? More so than is like obvious, I guess, with the way that these damage fall offs are happening. Because they're both, let's see. They both have the same spread and fire rate, but then obviously the damage difference and the armor penetration differences. But more importantly, that sway and with the damage fall off, 200 raw damage versus 165 raw damage. That means that at 100 meters, the diligence counter sniper will still be able to one tap things like devastators. So if you really want to be a sniper, the diligence counter sniper for those big long range shots, 100 meters, I don't know, maybe even out to as far as 125 meters, you'll be able to get those one shots on the heads of devastators, which is pretty cool to think about. Especially since it has less sway as its default. In its default configuration, it has 0.8 sway, which is less than standard, which is great. And that's with the diligence counter sniper having a big heavy scope and a muzzle brake, which I believe increases your sway by like 25%. So if you wanted to reduce it even more, then you would remove the attachment, or at least switch to a flash hider, which only worsens your sway by like 25%. You're going to be pacing your shots with this anyway, so you don't need a tremendous amount of recoil control, especially not at long range like that. And then if you wanted to, you could lean into an angled foregrip for even less sway. So this thing would basically be a rock solid. And then if you go crouch and prone or whatever, even more so. And you can, as long as you're on target with the 10x sniper scope, then like there you go, man. This should be an absolute pinpoint precision weapon. Yeah, it's also got a higher starting velocity. They have the same weight. So this thing, not only is it going to be able to do the two tap or the one tap at a devastator head at 100 meters, but it should be even farther than originally anticipated because it has a starting velocity that's higher by almost 100 meters per second with the same mass. So that's pretty cool. So if you really want to be a long range sniper, make those 100 meter plus shots, the diligence counter sniper is much more suitable. So it would seem. But let's take it in there and see what it do in its default configuration. Yeah, we'll just do cyborgs. That's fine. I'm gonna bring the AMR just as a. I'm pretty sure these are the same, but I don't really remember offhand. A little bit drowsy after all that food. More bonds can be completed at any time. That's pretty great. You right there, big boy? My doggo over here says he requires pets. All right, this map looks like it's got a lot of flat areas-ish. I'll head that way. Ah, crap. Yeah, 200 meters. 200 meters. They are the same. It is the same. It's too many. I need to get a better vantage point. Where'd they go? Okay. Oh, this is perfect. Come on. See if I can actually make it happen. Ah, I'm so bad. This is hard shots. I'm shooting them in the armor plates too much. Well. Well, it'll definitely get the job done out there about that 80 meters, 80-meter range or whatever, but man, I'm going to have to really practice with my optic stuff here. I was not landing those shots very well. 116. What's weird though is like well, we'll figure it out. What would be nice is if I could get another trooper patrol to just like get this big wide open area and but I'm not getting anything that I mean that was a really good one in the beginning if my aim wasn't due to. God damn, these guys are good shit. Fuck you. Look at I hate how accurate these guys are. It's a real pain in the dick. I feel like the reticle is deceiving me a little bit, but maybe I just need to practice more. That's too close. Need to find some more stationary units somewhere. It's hard to get these headshots on these dang cyborgs because they start moving too much, and it's already hard enough for me to aim on a controller with that kind of precision requirement. Two shots to the belly is nice, I'll say that. Whew-wee. Long range shots are hard, man. Ah, shit. I keep forgetting. Sorry about that there, Mick. Yeah, I'm just trying to test out these breakpoints, and the hardest part about the, testing these cyborgs with these damage fall-offs is that they're so erratic in their movement. They start moving as soon as you start shooting them. Right at 100 meters. God damn it, I had the wrong gun out. You know, I've been at this for too long. Okay, well that was still a one shot to the head, so that's good. There we go. Using those hash mark system. Okay, so the center, yeah, just so we are all on the same page, roughly speaking, the center dot for this would be 200-meter distance. The first hash mark would be about 100. Okay, so that matches my prediction, so that's good. Then the question comes down to how far away can you actually do it? And if it's practical, anyway. Well, Mick, how's it going today, man? Thanks for stopping by. Is this a one-tap is the real question here. Not from this angle, anyway. I am really missing my shots because I've got it tuned in too much. Oh, I'm out of ammo. Whoops.
Deploying equipment package.
Getting all lost in the sauce here. looking for another batch of cyborgs.
Never mind.
See if I can pick his head off properly. Look at that. Perfect. Oh, good. Okay, 78 meters.
Cancel that.
So, probably this second tick mark. A little bit too much. Dang. Look at how fast they move. That's the worst part. It's so hard to test them because even if you hit them, they start moving so fast. Ah, he's too close. Uh-oh, somebody already sees me and started shooting. My aim is not good enough for this right now. Oh, gosh. Oh. You're doing good. Only found the channel the other day with the weapon guide and stuff. Oh, thanks. I'm glad you enjoyed that. Thanks for the subscribe. That means a lot to me.
Never mind.
Ah. Well. So, anyway, yeah, I'm trying to do some breakpoint testing and like max range testing and stuff against these guys, though. It's a lot easier to do it against the regular automatons because they're not quite as fast in their movements. But these cyborgs, man, as soon as they're aware of your presence, they start moving so erratically. It's pretty tough on controller. I imagine it's tough on MK too, even though you have to wait on the ergonomic system, but the precision element is really, really tough on thumbsticks. But anyway, this is more just trying to get like the extra, like super detailed breakdown stuff. Because the regular diligence, for example, in the testing today so far, you lose the ability to one-tap a Devastator right at about 100 meters with the regular Diligence, but you can still do it with the Diligence Counter Sniper, and it should be going out even farther to be able to do it. Maybe 125 meters, maybe up to 150, I'm not sure yet. But so that really lets the Counter Sniper serve very effectively as an actual sniper-type weapon for precision hits, compared to the Diligence, which is a lot better out to like 50 meters. Especially because it can only get up to 4x scope, whereas the counter sniper can actually get the 10x scope. So I've just been hunting cyborg heads for a little while, trying to narrow it down a little bit, but between the blizzard and everything, but I think this is the only planet right now that has cyborgs, so it's kind of a pain to do the testing I need to be able to do. It's like right now I'm in a blizzard and you can't see more than like 50 meters away or something. Of course, this guy's facing the wrong way. Got a guy in there.
Never mind.
It's a little bit too close. This has got more people than I want.
Attack underway.
I think I might end up just having to find a new map. Yeah. See if I find a little bit more favorable map. But that's all right. Oh. Well, I think I'm gonna probably leave it there for the moment. I got a lot of good info and testing done with the regular diligence today. And just as a recap, just kind of go over my diligence marksman rifle notes. Which is basically, with the regular diligence, you can expect a one-shot kill against Devastators out to at least like 75 meters. But somewhere between 75 and 100, you start having to use 2 shots. Devastator stomachs, it's about 3 shots to kill. The leg is 7 shots. Rocket pods for Devastator, rocket pods, 2 shots to kill those. You can shoot the backpacks of like heavy Devastators and rocket Devastators, but they usually turn around before you can finish it. Berserker stomachs, also 3 shots to kill, but whenever they're chasing you, they lean forward, so you're much more likely to just hit them in the chest, which is going to require like 7 shots, 6 or 7 shots. Agitators, 2 shots to break off their helmet, 1 shot to shoot them in the head. Presumably up to like 75 meters before you get damage fall off. Torsos are pretty exposed. You can spam fire into those and kill them pretty easily within like, I don't know, 6 or 10 shots, something like that. It's a lot of variability because they've got some armored sections and some unarmored sections. And really, for the diligence, like the best practical ranges are going to be, I would say, between 25 and 75 meters. Really right around 50 meters would probably be like the very best, because then you can kind of freely choose between if you want it to be precision against weak points, or if you just want to brute force through the torso of something. Handles pretty well inside closer ranges, so you can still snap to targets or brute force to their torso effectively, because it's got a reasonable mag size. And at farther ranges it starts to get worse because you get damage fall off, and it only has a 4x optic, so you can't really see them as well. But yeah, pretty good, pretty snappy. Definitely strong option on the bot front if you're trying to click heads, as it were. But more of a mid-range, like I said, around 50 meters is where this thing is going to feel really, really good, responsive, and effective. And then I'll continue working on the diligence the next time, which is already shaping up to be a a proper sniper style weapon because it has enough damage and like longer damage fall off that you can get those one-shot kills against Devastators beyond 100 meters, which is really important. And it comes with the 10x sniper scope so that you can actually see the weak points more clearly. So yeah, man, this is pretty interesting. I mean, combining it with the testing I did recently of the Hyena, you know, the Hyena excels a lot more at the body shot killing with the fire damage, but the Diligence counter sniper has got stats and stuff like that that make it more favorable for those precision headshots. Of course, you need to have the right angle, whereas with the Hyena, you just kind of blast through from any angle you want because you don't care about headshots. So that's a pretty interesting difference. And the Deadeye has some trade-offs, obviously. It's got more damage per shot, standard sway and precision and stuff, but lower capacity around reload. And the fire rate is significantly slower as well. So, yeah, these are pretty interesting trade-offs between the marksman rifles so far. I'm enjoying this, what I'm finding and stuff like that, and these details. So, yeah. But I've been at it all afternoon, so you know this is a lot of interesting stuff, a lot of work. But I think I'm about spent for the day. So, thanks again to everybody that came and hung out. And I will see you all next time where we continue with the Diligence Counter Sniper. Bye-bye.